Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home.
Today we are going to do a little bit more thorough review on this Zippo double torch butane lighter insert. This is a replacement insert that is meant to go into your Zippo case instead of your petrol insert. Everybody knows how petrol evaporates, so there are many reasons why a butane lighter would be better, but there are many uses for which a lighter is needed to where a petrol lighter is just not suitable. And one of those uses is heating up dab straws. This Zippo double torch insert has a very user-friendly spark button. Obviously does not have a file wheel that you're going to spin like a typical Zippo would, but the button is not hard to depress. It is not hard on the thumb or fingers to keep depressed, and it seems to have a ready ignition whenever the button is pushed, so long as you have the lighter adjusted, the flame adjustment on it set to the proper level. If you turn it all the way up, which that one was almost, then it lights pretty well. It actually seems to light flawlessly when you've got it turned all the way up. But you may not need that big a flame. You may just be wasting butane if you leave it up there that high. So I myself prefer a flame that is a little bit smaller. I'm not trying to burn my throat each time I suck on that straw. That's where we run into the first rub with this insert. When you adjust that flame down, well, now it seems to be lighting up just fine, but it has been very finicky at lower levels of the flame adjustment. There we have, there's all the way up. That is the all the way to the top position. We had it at about there. Maybe a little higher than that. And it is occasionally lighting, but not burning for very long and not as it should. So the lower levels, you can see where we have that set, and it would still turn down almost a half turn from there. So it seems that the only adjustment that really works here is to turn it all the way up, and then you can barely turn it down. If you turn it down just a little bit, then you will get good ignition. Still plenty hot to heat up your dab straw, but not so hot as to burn your throat unnecessarily. The functionality, the ergonomics of the lighter fitting into the case and you actuating and using it, again, I have no complaints about that. It does seem a little odd to be flipping up a lid on a butane lighter when the purpose of that lid is typically to snuff a flame. You're not snuffing the flame when you close the lid. You're snuffing the flame when you let off of the button. So there may be some parts here that aren't really necessary. I guess you are protecting your button there with the lid covering it. But the chances of that being depressed in a position where it had enough oxygen to light doesn't seem very likely to me, even if it didn't have the lid. So while it may not function perfectly, It definitely is finicky at lower settings on the flame adjustment. The more butane that you are feeding up there through it, the fact that it is so reliable, at least when you have it dialed in to that sweet spot, makes this lighter a valuable tool for me to add to my butane lighter rotation. Now, the only other negative that I have with this lighter, or I should say this insert, is, say, take for example this Jeep lighter. You can see the fuel supply in it. You cannot see the fuel supply in the Zippo. So you're kind of flying blind, but that's not really my criticism. My criticism is the tank. However much space there is in this little insert for butane fuel, it does not last very long. I would say probably at the most, heating up a dab torch about a dozen times is about the most you're going to get out of it. So I do not see this as my main torch lighter. This is not the main lighter that I will use, because if I use it on a regular basis, then every time I reach for it, with it only being good for a dozen dab straws or so, then every time I reach for it, it's practically going to be empty. Every 12th time or so anyway. So I will rely on the cheap Jeep, and possibly also this new Ronson jet light that I just opened up. Just made the other video for it moments ago. Those will be my main butane lighters. And then this replacement double torch Zippo butane insert will be the backup. That's simply a function of its limited fuel supply. Otherwise, this would be the lighter I was using most of all. It's easier on the thumb, it's easier to actuate than either of these other two. The Ronson Jet Light is a little bit stiff, and you guys know, you've heard me talk about carpal tunnel a lot over the years of me posting videos on this channel, and that certainly is not getting any better. And every time that I do something with one of these hands that is difficult, like actuating the piezo on this Jeep lighter, puts pressure on my hand and only aggravates the problems that I have. So I would love it if this thing was about 10 times longer, had a tank like a ruler, and could hold several days worth of butane, because it really does ignite way better than most butane lighters that I've ever used. We'll see how it holds up, whether it starts getting wonky as it gets dirty. But overall, I would give this about a 3.5 or 4 out of 5. If it had more space for fuel so that you could use it longer before it needed a refill, that would have brought the score up a little bit. And also, if the adjustment of it weren't so finicky. If you could actually use the lighter for the entire range of the flame adjustment, then that would have been a plus too. But as it stands, 4 out of 5, not a bad review, and definitely a lighter that I look forward to continuing to use. Until next time.